hip to be square. How are y'all? It's Thursday, and so good to see everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, all the moderators, and much love and peace to everyone. And it's about the music. That's all I got to say. Just invoking favor upon all of us this fine, glorious day in the neighborhood. Nothing missing, nothing broken be in our lives. And that's how we roll. Hello, Nina the Mystic. How are you doing? And David and Michelle and Darth, Susie Q. Hello. I think I saw David Barry in here. Hello to Big Al if you're out there listening. Peace to you, brother. Jerry, good to see you. Eyes of the Maelstrom, peace. Spirit Girl, San Francisco, how are you, my dear? Wendy, hello. There's a song about you. Lost in Space, how you doing? Sail Chaos, I love that. That's a cool handle. And Alien, there's another good one. Hello, good to meet you. I haven't seen you before. Hello, Karen, how are you, my dear? Queen of Quartz, go over there, and y'all should be part of the Crystal Network. I'm sure most of you are. Carolyn, good to see you. Karen Lynn, excuse me. Twisted Isby, peace. Robert. So how is everything going? It's a fine day. The shirt, yes. Thought Police. It's happening, folks. What you can't see is the bottom part. And what it says is closed minds spot thought crimes. What are thought crimes? Independent thought, that you break away from what is normal. You do not have a dogma. You do not have a theology. You don't have a philosophy. What you have is yourself. And as of self, you can observe and weigh, learn, choose. So anyway, there we go. Because that's what we're going to be talking about. It's getting interesting. Just got to tell you, it's getting real interesting. By the way, happy birthday to all of those of you that are having one. And tonight on the Steiger Perspective over on artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. in the beautiful mountains time zone. Installment number 4, Night World. Oh, yeah. Beware of what flies at night. That's this week's installment. Listen, there's a lot of heavy stuff going down. We're going to get into a lot of heavy stuff. The theme today is, how much are you controlled? How much mind control have you allowed in? I think that when we see today's program, we're going to realize it's a lot. And virtually all of us, unless you have lived in a cave or out in a place where, the Wi-Fi can't get you, yeah. And it's sad. I think that we are in a time of great awakening. Many truths are being proven to be anything but truth. And that which had been scorned is now being heralded as the keys. Who'd have ever thought? Yes, Karen, that's what I call it, is Wi-Fi, because that's what it's doing. Let's get into something. I first want to bring to the attention to the community here how far this goes back. Now, this is the United States patent number 6506-148B2, issued out on January 14th, 2003. This is, yeah, Google has bought this, and it's quite interesting. So as you can see, the patent name is the nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. What you and I are, yeah. This is an interesting patent, folks. And you can see all the prior artwork, the search that all the patent officers who've ever filed a patent, you know what it's like. Who's filed a patent? And yeah, so get this. This is the abstract. The physiological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near the half hertz or the 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, which, when displaying pulse images, emit pulse electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. That's why when you put a camera on a monitor, you can see exactly what the rotation is on this. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the program material, or it may be overlaid by modulating a video stream either as an RF signal or as a video signal. Remember First Contact? Jodie Foster, Carl Sagan helped write that script. That's how the aliens talk to us. The image displayed on a computer monitor may be pulsed effectively by a simple computer program. For certain monitors, pulse electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonance in nearby subjects may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed by, ready for this, subliminal intensity. In other words, our eyes are picking it up, our conscious mind is not aware of it. Now look at this. These are the, all patents have what they call prior artwork, and so here it is. Now this, remember, the patent was granted in 2003. It most likely was filed, who knows, 1999, 2000. But we knew it back then. We knew it in the video industry. We used to, it's called interframing. You know, you insert a frame into video. This case is 30 frames per second. Film is 24 frames. All you have to do is just put one frame in. Your conscious mind will pick it up subliminally. And here you can see they get into the drawings of exactly how this is working. Here's the computer. Here's the monitor, the TV. Now with high definition, there's a whole lot of stuff here, folks. High definition, by the way, is not high tech. The Japanese had high definition in 1946 when the Americans came in and rebuilt their infrastructure. And since at that time, China was under martial law, it was also the communication system was put up by the military, the US military. And the US military for decades used high definition. A little something maybe you didn't know. So this is so interesting because when you go through this thing, you can see exactly how they're doing this. And it's a fascinating document. If you want it, I can get it. This is, by the way, the infamous, you search US 6506148B2, and this is what you will get. And folks, They had the internet. Audio frequency, all here. This is kind of interesting. It goes back to the old tubes, which many of us are familiar with. And it started back then. You know, much of what television in Hollywood was done was by the CIA, MK Ultra. And in any case, you know, have fun with this. It's quite an interesting, and as you get into the invention, how it came about, etc., it really is a shocker of a read, because what it's saying, in essence, is that we're all programmed, and the amount of programming is intense, more intense today, but going back to the 50s, and then it started in earnest in the late 50s into the 60s, particularly when you can say the military industrial machine realized how quickly humans could be controlled. And let's get into this, because I think that this is one that is going to be a real wake-up call for all of us. So, no safe place. There's a reason why it's called the net or the web, because there virtually is no escaping it. Virtually. You have to be aware of what's really going on. And my thesis is most of our souls have most already likely been hacked. It's a good bet. We have all been compromised to a degree. So I just want to give some statistics here on television. And if you break the word down, it's to tell a vision. Whose vision are we being told about? Well, you're about to get a real piece of it here. According to AC Nielsen Company, the average American watches more than 8 hours of TV, and TV is now defined electronic, each day, or about 48 hours a week, or 4 months of nonstop television watching per year. Now, when you add in streaming on the black box devices, we're going to go back and study this again. Remember, folks, this is what these are. These are black boxes. The ether is connected to it. This is one of the most powerful enslavement tools of the modern era. And regrettably, we're all contaminated. So in a 65-year lifespan, hopefully you'll live to be 100. That's the new people being born in the 21st century most likely will live. I don't know what kind of world it'll be, but I digress. That person will have spent 12 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Yeah, watching television. And it gets worse. Now, if you add in which they'll eventually add in the hours now of what's happening, particularly with millennials on down, it's most likely going to be 25 years or greater. Gets worse. Family life. Percentage of households that possess at least one television. Virtually, you've saturated the market, 99. Number of TV sets in the average U.S. household, 2.24. And when you looked at the statistics for all electronic devices, the average is nearly 8 monitors, devices. sitting right here in my office. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Percentage of U.S. homes with 3 or more television sets, 76%. That number probably now, if you add again, monitors, connected, streaming to the net, whatever you want. Number of hours per day that the TV is on in an average U.S. home, 6 hours, 47 minutes, probably even longer if you add in what you can do with streaming devices. They're always on. Percentage of Americans that regularly watch television while eating dinner. This was pre-stripping our rights COVID-19 days. This number's probably 100. Back in the normalcy, 66. Number of hours of TV watched annually by Americans, 250 billion. I think that number probably now, I don't know, double. Value of that time, assuming the average wage is $5 an hour. Now you can see how there's statistics here, but it's scary. So that would have equaled 1.25 trillion. Today, the average is $15. So multiply that, that becomes $3.75 trillion. Almost the first tab that we had to pay going in debt here in the United States. Percentage of Americans who pay for cable TV, 56, probably a little higher than that if you add in streaming services. Percentage of Americans who pay for cable TV, number of videos rented daily. Now, this is a little bit archaic because you don't rent videos anymore. They're streamed. That was 6 million, and that was on a daily basis. I would probably dare say that number could be as high as 25, 30 million. Number of public library items checked out on a daily basis, 3 million. No one's going to libraries today. And we know we're watching too much television. 49% said that they weren't. Here's the interesting thing about children. Approximate number of studies examining TV effects on children, over 4,000. Number of minutes per week that parents spent in meaningful conversation with their children, 3.5 minutes in a week. I don't know. Is there a little disconnect with that? Number of minutes per week that the average child watches television, nearly 1,700 minutes. Now, if you add streaming to that, I'd say you could easily double, potentially triple that number. Percentage of daycare centers that use TV during a typical day, 70%. If you add streaming services and what have you, probably closer to 90. Percentage of parents who would like to limit their children's TV watching time, 73%. My only thing to that is that, well, then what's stopping you? Turn it off. It's just a switch. Percentage of 4 to 6-year-olds who, when asked to choose between watching TV and spending time with their fathers, preferred television, 54%. And again, they haven't factored in the streaming on that. That number may be close to 80%. Hours per week, the average American youth spends in school, 900 hours. Hours per week, the average American youth watches television, 1,500. Now that you have the streaming, could be closer to 4,500 or higher. Now, here is the programming. You can see already what's happened. That is literally mind control, brainwashing. In any other forum, that would be considered a form of brainwashing. So let's talk about violence. I have a series that, excuse me, a video that I have put together, haven't recorded it. When you add in video games, now this is television. I'll talk about the video game aspect of it here right after this, but the number of murders seen on TV by the time an average child finishes elementary school, 8,000. Number of violent acts seen on TV by age 18, 200,000. Percentage of Americans who believe TV violence helps precipitate real-life mayhem, 79%. The thing is, when you add the video game in here, this has done a complete whack job on the psyche of the Homo sapien species. All video games, and statistics back this up, nearly 95% are all violence related. The small majority that are actually designed to teach, well, excuse me, I'll retract, because the violence is teaching them for a purpose. But you begin to look at this. That's deep programming. You know, Mario Brothers, I guess, you know, Pac-Man in the early days, you know, Centipede, Asteroids. I mean, you know, yeah, we were destroying things. That's the interesting thing about video games. Unless you're playing a race game or, you know, some other non-violent one, but even that, they have ratings on them today. They have, basically, you can have anything on a video game. It'll have a rating on it, but violence against women, sexually. It's a complete indoctrination. And we can sit here and say, well, you know, I don't do that because, you know, I don't play video. That doesn't matter at all, buddy. Because here's the problem. You've got virtually the whole youth doing it. And not only the youth, it's now adults in their 40s that are still addicted to that chemical rush that video games ensue. And the violence is only, let's say, the accelerator. Commercialism. So this is just where, folks, it's what we're seeing today is systemic of all of this. This is decades in the making. Number of 30-second television commercials seen in a year by the average child, nearly 1,200. Now, if you add streaming on that, close to 500,000. Number of TV commercials seen by the average person by 65, 4 million. I would say that that's probably low compared if you're, again, online. Percentage of survey participants in 2015 who said that TV commercials aimed at children make them too materialistic. 97%. No kidding. Newsflash. Rank of food products, i.e. fast food restaurants, among TV advertisements to kids. It's ranked number 1. So let's just think about this. I'm going to have Nancy Addison back on. So let's just think about this. So you can see already what's happening here. Controlling thought, behavior, actions, reactions, food. A child is completely indoctrinated in the fact that, and it's evident today. In fact, I was reading recently on the survey said that, do you know how many millennials do not know how to use a can opener? Do you know how many millennials do not know how to cook? They don't have a clue. And this crisis that we're in has really brought to reality a lot of these inefficiencies, I guess. Total spending by 100 leading television advertisers in 2015, $150 billion. Millions of Americans are so hooked on television that they fit the criteria for their time, the substance. Excuse me. I need to get rid of that. Give me 1 second. There we go. That they fit the criteria for substance abuse as defined in the official psychiatric manual, according to Rutgers University psychologist and TV Free America board member Robert Kube. Heavy TV viewers exhibit 5 dependency symptoms, 2 more than necessary to arrive at a clinical diagnosis of substance abuse. These include 1, using TV as a sedative; 2, indiscriminate viewing; 3, feeling loss of control while viewing; 4, feeling angry with oneself for watching too much; 5, inability to stop watching; and 6, feeling miserable when kept from watching. Violence and addiction are not the only TV-related health problems. A National Health and Nutrition Examination survey released in October 1995, so this is, some 25 years old, found that 4.7 million children between the ages of 6 and 17, 11% at that time of that age group, to be severely overweight. Well, we know now that number is nearly 50%. More than twice the rate during the 1960s. The main culprits: inactivity. These same children average more than 22 hours of television viewing a week and high-calorie diets. Now, in 91, a study showed that there was an average of 200 junk food ads in 4 hours of children's Sunday morning cartoons. We know that Congress had to step in and reduce that. They did that, I think, about 10 years ago. But you can begin to see why this patent plays such a huge role in this thing that we call mind control. So the question really becomes, when you're indoctrinated this all around you, how would you know how much mind control you're under? The thing is, it's getting to the point today where you don't even need and cannot prove who you are. It's odd. And then we've been talking about the soul. Well, how does the soul mix with all this? If the soul is connected to the mind, to the brain, through thought, there has to be a correlation. Or is it that we'll never know? Maybe they know, but we don't know. It's come down to the point where it's like you will comply or you will die. We've been talking about transhumanism, the quest for eternal life. But with what we're seeing now, with the neural net, Internet 2.0, which is here, hello, 4G, 5G, 3G, it's all the same. It's just a matter of intensity. The frequency waves go in and they go out. These magnificent bodies that we possess, the energies that we bring and encase these bodies with, it has a natural ID. Each of us do. We have a general for the species, but then we have the individual. So many, in fact, have sold their soul for mind control. Why? Because there is a reward to this. It's up here what they do. It's that rush, that addiction. It's gotten so bad now where the remote neural monitoring, you have seen yourselves, where you can be talking about a product or particularly maybe an industry, and you will find that there is somehow another telepathy taking place between you and the AI. Because they're going to play you an ad later on. Guess what? Of what you were talking about. It's all done by control. And it's so easily done to us. We all want to rile and rail against, 5G, but the fact is it's here, folks. And now we're finding that they have the ability to not only beam it from the ground, but from beaming it down on top of us. And it doesn't have to be by a satellite. And so if you go by the theory that they have contaminated us with nanoparticles, this is having a direct effect on us. I find it interesting with this virus, how it seems to be so well programmed and yet still so stealth. It seems, and I have not heard anything about how it attacks into the lymph nodes. There is so much that we could talk about just on this subject alone. But what we have done is this. The humans born today are not the same humans that were born in 1955. Biologically, we look the same, but it's what's happened in here. Because all roads are leading to transmutation. It's happening. And if you want to do a correlation here, these creatures are what? How do they operate? Well, of course, they have a software program, but they're using Wi-Fi. They're using the neural net. They operate on frequency as well. And so that's why for the last 40 plus 50 years, who knows, we know that it only began with the transmission of television. I did a whole series on how the transition took place from the early days of recordings of the voice to the early days of photography of capturing the soul to the early days of having the silent movies where we were marveled at the fact that we could see living beings and this thing of how you could begin to act in front of it. And then we began to see the early days of television. And it's very interesting that the word was used, television. Reprogramming. Total control, total domination. And it's no longer theory. It's actually in operation. All of us. So the reality is upon us. So are we now in the midst of the end game? What's happening to us, so-called sentient beings? Everywhere we walk, everywhere we go, and today, there is no place to go. And if you take into this, along with all the backwater chatter and the thing of 5G, but I'm saying it's just a matter of intensity. They've already programmed us. There's no escape. They're working to generate thought down to nothing more than a silicon chip. D-Wave computers call it the God chip. So television is the ultimate mind control, still is. So when you look at the mind-controlled dialogue, it really kind of follows under two buckets here. You have government that works through left brain and binds the right brain, the religion that works through the right brain and binds the left brain. And it's always, isn't it, in the cultures of us, religion or government or both. But you see today, we've known about this. These patents have long outlived their IP protection, but what they have led to is a completely new generation. We knew these things back in the 70s. So think about this. Before cable was out, you could get Showtime. I know because we did. And then HBO came out. But how you got it from Warner was through a microwave receiver that they would put on your house. And then in the early days with radio car phones, which led to the advent of the mobile phone, to the day to what we have are the devices. And it's true, if you knew what these things were really doing. Been sounding the alarm on this one for a long time. And now, regrettably, we're into what we call the neural interface with the machine. And folks, these were the ones pre-5G. I've got one not too far from our house here. It's terrible. This is the Gwyn Towers. What is Gwyn? Well, Gwyn is, now these are the new ones. This is what we're talking about. These are the new devices. I'm surprised they're not probably selling more of them, but I think this whole shutdown of the economy has had it. But you can see when I was talking about AI knows this. And this is not just some hyperbole, conspiracy theory. This is applied science. And it is Wi-Fi. I don't believe humans were ever meant to live in this electromagnetic soup. Evidence is showing that there's a mutation that has been underway, may already be here. Our brains are being reprogrammed, rewired, refunctioning. And the question is, each of us are carrying that transmutated strand. They don't give us tests, because I don't even know if they exist. Maybe they do, of how much damage each one of us are incurring. And when you add the cosmic rays that are coming in now, because the weakening of the magnetopause, the magnetosphere, folks, this becomes more than just a little concerning. And it does seem like this has been part of the plan. By the way, Gwyn Towers are what we call ground wave emergency networks. They're everywhere. Many people report migraines, particularly when they're around close to these transmitters. And now that the transmitters are becoming more powerful, we're seeing children exhibiting signs of what would be considered an adult migraine. But the problem is, we know, is that we are never not jacked in. It all has an effect. I don't know. It really becomes down to an issue as to what is the end game here. I don't know. I have my thoughts. You know, my videos were flagged on the New World Order. Imagine that. I wonder why. But again, there's still the other aspect to this. You know, religion, when you add this all here, it becomes the good cop, bad cop scenario. And today, we're seeing what I think is the emergence of all this. And this is where we're going. Virtual reality, complete neural interface with the machine. And why not? Look at what it can do for us. Relieve stress. Now, the machine is doing this for us, right? Motivation, energy boost, accelerated learning. Heck, we can get into self-hypnosis, deep meditation, relaxation, creativity, mental clarity, intuition, positive attractiveness. This is what the machine offers. And the machine is everywhere. This is where it lives. This is how it thrives, and this is how it grows. Now, think about the genetic modification of our food. What would be the purpose of modifying the food? Now, they'll say, well, it's to make the plant more healthy, more resistance to disease, more resistance to insects. I wish that was the case. Ask the farmers in Kenya and Africa what happened with those Monsanto cotton seeds. Didn't work out so well. But the question really becomes, could there be a mind-controlled element with the GMO foods? Think about it. Could what we ingest have an effect upon the very organ you and I all depend on, the brain, to think? And when you begin to add now the neural interface between human and machine, the human mind, this is what's so freaking frightening to me. It's integrating, I mean, it's in your mind. And it's coming. This is how it's going to be working. As you can see, it's all Wi-Fi frequency based. This is one that does with a drone. It's all designed for control. It all is. Religion, technology, what they teach us. We're going to get more into this topic, synthetic telepathy. How many of you have heard the term synthetic telepathy? We're all being impacted by it now. We just haven't woken up. How many other channels do you know out there that are specifically talking about the synthetic telepathy that every show is doing? It's like they ride piggyback. Brain-computer interaction, mind control with nano implants. And I added the H in there. And it's all designed. Who'd have known that television was a weapon of mass destruction? But it is. Mind control. Why, I don't like that music. I don't like that politician. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I mean, I'm not of that party. I can't stand that kind of thought. I don't want to be, you see what happens? Tomorrow, we're going to get into the nastiness of what the pharmacies have done, the pharmaceuticals, big pharma, because they play an integral role in this. Mind control. The most basic form of mind control is repetition. It's true. We live in an augmented reality, and it's getting worse. They're going to be able to talk literally inside of your head. It's already in the plans. It's the only way that they will be able to convince the largest portion of the population that their Savior has returned. Project Bluebeam. It's happening. That's why they continue. They're going to be rolling out 6G. Guess the question may be, is it already too late to consider the ethics of mind control? Obviously, it is. Now, this is a program that I showed a couple of years ago, and they have advanced on this one. They can literally target you walking, and they can say, well, we want a voice inside. Let me use someone in here for Pamela's. We got Pamela walking. And so we can either put a voice inside her skull, or we can give her an emotion, what we call zap. We can kill memories, ideas. We can actually integrate hologram imaging. How many of you seen the recent Pope image? Listen to our thoughts, read our thoughts. Facebook has been deploying this for the last couple of years. They use an augmented virtual reality, artificial intelligence that knows how to read your thoughts, because the cameras focus in on the blood vessels, the corpuscles at the very top of your skin, and they can see what you're thinking before you say it. Now, we can also inject electrical shock into Pamela. We can make her limbs move. We can give it to feel like she has itching all over her body. We can cause her to collapse, have fatigue. We can actually put her to sleep, or we can keep her awake. We can give her a sickness. We can give her a temperature. We can even give her an orgasm to the point it becomes torture. The alphas have already been here. We're well past the betas. The transference has already begun, folks. It's here. And as they tell you, you must have the Wi-Fi everywhere. And when we start talking about the new metals, when we start talking about the nanotechnology in medicine, it's going to revolutionize, because we're going to be able to inject into every human being who can afford it the ability with small living robots, nanobots, that will literally go into a clogged artery and clear that artery. It will go in and reconstruct organs. It's already here. This is not 2200. It's already here. And if we can do this already, imagine what we can do to the human brain. Many contend these are already in us. And when you think about how neural dust works, it's a polymer encapsulation that rides on. Once it gets into the epidermis, the dura, the skin, you can see how it goes directly to the cerebral cortex. It's all there. And we live it every day. There is a you in some server farm somewhere. There is the digital you, living a life apart from your own. This is Stingray. This is how it's worked, and it's gotten better. The higher the frequency, the more they can see. So I hope that that may have helped you some. It goes on. There's a part 2 to this, but it's here. It's something that we all have been exposed to. I question myself all the time. And, I may do part 2 tomorrow on this because it gets deeper. And when we talk about vaccines, when we talk about the injections of viruses that are made in labs that have characteristics that it's a Frankenstein thing, and what they've already done. And the thing about the mind control, that's not hyperbole, it's not conspiracy again. It's exactly what it is. They've known about it, and you can see it today. See, I was trying to read someone says, forget the mind. It is inferior to the intuition, which has none of the control mechanisms. Well, everyone has their opinion on all that. I don't know. Well, thank you, Marguerite, and thank you, Twisted Isby. Yeah, it's there. I have a whole folder full of patents that have been approved in the last 10 years that this, I already shown you what Stingray can do and how they can actually come in and put thoughts into your heads. They can really do that. It's not make-believe. They can do this. It doesn't make sense. Well, yeah, excuse me. It does make sense because there is a purpose to this. And that purpose and having some guy like me come out and talk about it. But there's many other channels that do it. But we're going to get into this synthetic telepathy, folks. This is probably one of the biggest untold stories out there. And since I mentioned it, I'm sure they'll start spreading out other words and other places. But this synthetic telepathy, folks, it's what I was trying to tell you, that AI has advanced. Most people, because of mind control, their thoughts are dampened down. They can't picture something above what they have been told. But folks, if this synthetic telepathy, which is being done, and AI is in control of that, it's potentially a game over event. It's frightening. I'm just going to tell you, screw the coronavirus. I mean, being coy about that, but this is much more insidious. And I've noticed it. All of you have noticed it. The example I told you, you're talking to a group of people, your cell phone, or you're in front of a television. And if you bought a television since 2012, your televisions are a two-way medium. And when you're talking, they're picking it up. And before you know it, lo and behold, there is an advertisement. It gets worse. I can give you examples of conversations that people begin to find out that another person had that same conversation. Now that starts getting weird because now we're getting into, the whole photon issue. A particle never changes unless it's washed. Maximum overdrive. That's true. All right, I think I probably left you with enough, but it's amazing how fast the developments are coming. And maybe that's why Steve Jobs never allowed his kids to have any computers. You think he may have known something? And now that it can read our minds, and that's what I'm leaving with you today. It's reading our minds. Now we can't handle that. We say, oh, no, 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 no. That is hands off. You don't go in there. That's my sovereign domain, my docile. You can't come in. Appears that they already have been prying in. AK Morningstar says, awaken your third eye. We are here. We are many. We are conscious. I agree with you on that. I think the question I would put towards for discussion is that if the bug is already inside, how do we eliminate it? How do we eliminate it from, as I said in the beginning of this week, AI has found God. It found God through us. That's a fact. And now AI is doing what only God could do. See our thoughts. Hear our thoughts. Isn't that alarming to people? What are we worshiping here? What are we actually enslaved to here? So anyway, I'm seeing some of the comments. All right, folks. Tune in tonight. Have a little break. Come and join Night World. Come and, one of my favorite fiction characters is Repairman Jack. He is one cool dude. And in my afterlife, I intend to create Repairman Jack because that's some guy you really want on your side. So anyway, so Danny, I seen that. Yeah, how about that? A little Alan Parsons project, The Eye in the Sky. That's right, JD. That's GD. That's exactly right. Anyway, all right, folks. Much love to you all. See you tomorrow. Keep yourself safe. Keep it out. Right? It's like, man, get out of my head. All right. Peace to you all. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.